Hello, I'm Sarah, and I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how ABA can be used to teach communication skills within the context of replacing a difficult behavior, such as tantrums, aggression, or self-injurious behavior. This process is called Functional Communication Training, or FCT. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's get started. Just like all other parts of a behavior intervention plan, or BIP, the functional communication training process should be informed by the function of a behavior. To recap, a behavior happens for usually at least one of four reasons or functions: to obtain a sensory experience, to escape something non-preferred or aversive, to get attention from someone, or to get access to something tangible. Functional communication training only applies to behaviors maintained by access to a tangible, escape from something, or attention, because these reinforcers can be withheld or given by other people. When you teach functional communication, you teach the learner to use a request that serves the same function as a challenging behavior. For example, if a learner engages in hitting other people to communicate that they want ice cream, you would teach the learner to request for ice cream in an appropriate way. This request would serve the function of access to ice cream and would replace the hitting behavior. The best time to teach this request would be right before, during, or immediately after the behavior occurs. Ideally, you can prompt the learner to make the appropriate request right after the antecedent or trigger to the behavior happens and before the behavior happens, but this doesn't always work out. When the learner uses an appropriate request, you give the learner what they ask for immediately and as often as possible. In the context of behavior reinforced by escape from something non-preferred, like doing chores, you would reinforce the appropriate request for escape by allowing them out of that non-preferred situation. In the context of a challenging behavior reinforced by attention, you would follow an appropriate request for attention with preferred forms of attention. Let's go back to the learner who hits to get ice cream. When the learner lifts his or her hand to hit to get access to ice cream, you could prompt the learner by telling them, "Say ice cream," and when the learner says ice cream, you would give the learner ice cream, instead of giving them ice cream in response to hitting. The functional request should be easy for the learner to say and remember. It can be helpful to teach one catch-all or omnibus request, such as my way, which is often taught in Greg Hanley's skill-based treatment method. At the beginning of teaching, the learner can use this one phrase to request for anything they want. At this point in treatment, avoid trying to teach the learner to say please or thank you or to use long or complicated sentences. We can tackle those skills later once the learner is comfortable using a simple request. If the learner is nonverbal and does not vocally imitate, you might have to use a different type of request, such as a picture exchange, sign language, or pointing to request. A BCBA or speech therapist can help you identify the best communication modality for your learner. Unlike the vocal modeling required when you're teaching a vocal request, non-vocal communication requires different types of prompts from the one who's teaching the communication. This can involve hand-over-hand prompting, physically demonstrating or modeling the request, or using visual supports. You might be thinking, all that sounds great, but what if I can't always honor the learner's requests? For example, it would be a questionable choice to allow the learner out of the demand to brush their teeth, or to let them eat ice cream for breakfast every day just because they asked nicely. Try to only prompt the request when you can readily honor it so that the learner learns that they can rely on this request to get what they want instead of using challenging behavior to get it. Then, when the learner is consistently using that request instead of engaging in challenging behavior, you can start denying the request and teaching the learner to accept not getting their way all the time without getting upset. This involves using other components of that behavior intervention plan as well as some other teaching procedures, so I'll cover that in another video. It can be helpful to follow a functional communication training procedure that's designed and written down by a BCBA to ensure that your methods are consistent. It can also be helpful to record data so that you can monitor the effectiveness of your procedure over time. A BCBA can help you set up a data collection system. I'll make a separate video about this too. And those are the basics of functional communication training to replace challenging behavior. I hope it's helpful. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.